How to make good top 10s in 25 easy steps. First up, we're just basically talking about topics and how to write the top 10s, and also how to get ideas, everything that goes into top 10s except the actual editing. Number 1, this is a long one, how to write the top 10. Basically, you have the intro, the 10 subjects, and then the outro. Each of the 10 subjects can be boiled down to 4 parts. Start with the introduction sentence. Example, and at number 10, we have clef hooves. The following sentence should then immediately be an explanation of the item on the list, in a tone that assumes the viewer has never heard of it before and doesn't know the terminology of the game very well. Clef hooves are a beast in WoW first noted in Grand during TBC, and are just a normal mob. For Yu-Gi-Oh! And D&D videos, this second sentence looks like this. The feat Sharpshooter allows you to take a -5 penalty to your attack roll to deal 10 extra damage. And this card has the effect to draw 1 card per turn each time a monster is destroyed you control. After these first 2 sentences, the rest of the body of the paragraph simply explains their spot on the list. At the end of the segment, you need to write a closing statement. It can take the form of 4 different things, starting with A, ending by stating a summarized way why it's on the list. For example, and because Sharpshooter allows you to deal so much damage for a feat when compared to others, that's why it deserves a spot on this list. Option B, explaining why the subject to this particular spot on the list. Example, and that's why clef hooves only take the number 10 spot on this list. They're basically just a normal mob that don't do much and barely make it here because they're just a tiny bit better than all the other beast mobs. C, using the closing sentence as a segue into the next section. Example, and that's why this card was the strongest machine in the game. Speaking of overpowered machine type monsters in the game, ... And finally, D, the cold ending. This one just ends the segment as soon as the main idea of the subject is done, and is how most of the segments end. Good topics are about things people who you've never met would try to guess the number 1 spot of. Good example, top 10 rarest items. You don't need to know the person in order to try to guess what the rarest item in X game is. Bad example, my personal top 10 favorite items. No one cares about what your favorite items are, or at least not in the numbers that you're trying to shoot for. Negative topics get more views than positive and best of, but people will always ask for best of topics more frequently. Example, a video on the top 10 worst boss monsters will do better than a video on the top 10 best boss monsters. Number 4, viewers don't know what will do well. Take idea topics from fans with a grain of salt. Rarely do people ask for worst up topics even though they perform the best. They will very often ask for opinion-based top 10s when they actually perform the worst. Example, what are your top 10 favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards, your top 10 favorite mounts, etc, etc. Terrible ideas, asked for all the time. Number 5, people like to watch top 10s to get their own opinions validated. So it's fine if it has obvious spots, don't try to always surprise people. Example, and at number 1 on this list of top 10 female zombie lore figures in the game, we have an obvious spot of Sylvanas. Number 6, the order of the list matters. Don't make a top 10 and then say, it's in no particular order. I feel that lowers the quality of the list somewhat, and I don't really see these kinds of videos do well when other people try it. Number 7, the numbers 10 and 1 spots are the most important. Number 1 better stand out from the rest. Number 10 better be less than most of the list, but also needs to be the most interesting topic to talk about at the beginning of the video, and needs to draw the viewer in. For Yu-Gi-Oh videos, I'll usually have the number 10 spot be a legacy spot, where I just talk about an old card that fits the list, but probably doesn't measure up with all the other cards in the game, because Yu-Gi-Oh players love their nostalgia. For WoW videos, I usually pick something that's interesting and also lesser known. Like, Gunther Arcanus first appeared as a number 10 spot on the list of the best undead lore characters, and now shows up all the time in other lists as well. Number 8. Keep your intro short and to the point. Aim for less than 30 seconds. 15 seconds is preferred. Number 9. Your intro is the most important part of the video. It's what determines if someone will watch the rest of the video. Keep the rambling off topic for the end of the video, or for your Twitter, and just keep it out of the video completely. Number 10. If you have a channel intro, like an animated segment, include that into the runtime of the less than 30 seconds rule. No one likes loud music in their intros either. Number 11. Honorable mentions are not needed. Don't try to include everything to please everyone. Try to have some confidence in your list. Number 12. Top 5s are kind of lazy. Just look up 5 more topics. Only go less than 10 if there literally isn't 10 things to talk about, which is incredibly rare, I might add. Number 13. Pick evergreen topics. This will give you a nice backlog for people to watch in the future if they discover your channel through one of your videos. Nothing people like more than finding out there's a lot of content similar to a video they just watched and enjoyed. Number 14. Don't use math or specific numbers. Good example. Death Knight Ability X was an ability that had its damage reduced by 5% on April 5th, 2008 in patch 3.1.5 in a minor hotfix. Instead, write it like this. This Death Knight Ability X was changed in mid-wrath to do less damage. Number 15. Summarize everything. No one cares about the specifics unless that's the point of the video. Even then, summarize where you can. I remember reading a Stephen Hawking book where he was told by his publisher that he would sell half as many books for every mathematical formula he put in his book. So he decided to break that rule only a single time in order to talk about a very important mathematical formula that was the main topping point for that particular segment of the book. Number 16. Each video has the potential to be the first video anyone has ever seen on your channel. Make sure to treat it that way. 17. Don't assume people know all your inside jokes or have watched all of your past videos. Explain things every single time. But at the same time, as to not piss off long-time watchers, try to explain those things in different ways each time. 18. Don't assume people know the game inside and out. Explain things in a summarized way. You won't believe the amount of comments I get from people who are obviously brand new players to the game. In fact, that's probably why the videos do so well. It's because I cater to newer players. Number 19. Script your videos. Non-scripted is low quality, as it's just presenting the rough draft to the world as the final product. Unless you have a nice general outline written down and are really good at improv, which most people are not, and there's a good chance you are not an exception. Number 20. Subjectivity is implied. There's no need to over-explain your opinions in a list and get defensive about potential comments. People complain about everything no matter what anyway. Example. And that's why Velen is one of the strongest characters in lore, in my opinion, based on my own research. That doesn't mean I know everything. I could have missed something, and I could have also missed something else who might have been even a little bit stronger, but that's just what I think personally, so don't go yelling at me in the comments about how I missed something because it's just my opinion. Number 21. Welcome criticism. Ask people in the video to help you point out important topics you might have missed. For example, I end a lot of my videos asking people to point out topics that I might have missed, which should have been in this video. It cuts down on a lot of the negative comments I found. 22. You don't need an outro, so do whatever you want at the end of the video. 90% of people leave anyway. Best practice is to not even have one since it ruins binge watching. No one really does that though. 23. The title and thumbnail are almost more important than the video itself. Put a lot of effort into it. What makes a good thumbnail is hotly a debated topic. In my personal experience, I've found that simple is best, and to avoid overly complicated or overly edited thumbnails. But also put effort into them and don't go too simple. 24. To find good topics, experiment. To find good thumbnails, experiment. A creative industry is ever evolving, and those who stand still get left behind. So even if you think you've already found a nice system that works for you, keep experimenting anyway. 25. Don't be a perfectionist. No one expects a perfect video and it's a waste of time. Make the video as high quality as you can, while also not being super time consuming to make or edit. 1 video a week at minimum, good quality videos equals better branding. The 1 video per week per minimum is just for the YouTube algorithm. If what you do takes more than a week to make, then you need to find a way to bring that time down to a time frame of the 1 week per video by lowering your quality. Unfortunately, high quality work just doesn't fly on YouTube outside of a few outliers. Bonus fact: never expect to be the outlier.